Hello, you multi-magnificated millennials. I'm Ralphie, giving my own malt mentions because it's a privilege that I have, I'm just telling you, for Ralphie Review 1000. And of course, you wanted something special. You told me you wanted something special. You didn't want to see me just huffing and puffing in the bothy, just telling you about another single malt whiskey. So I've come out on location, return to Springbank. Now, for you real Ralphie stalwarts that have gone the distance and delved into the back catalogue of my channel, you know that the first distillery I visited for a locational walkthrough was Springbank, and I want to share something with you. Lee, I won't be a second here.
Okay.
I'm coming to you shortly because I've got a few questions to ask you.
Excellent.
I've had a member of Springbank staff tell me that they learned how to do their tours and were inspired in how to deliver their tours by watching that video of me huffing and puffing and walking my way through this distillery. Isn't the internet amazing? And I tell you who else is amazing. Lee. Lee, how long have you been working at the distillery?
I came here in 2011, so 12 years I've been here, yeah.
And I've been hearing through the grapevine that you've done every job in the distillery.
Yeah, pretty much. So I started off with tours.
Yeah.
So I've done tours, I've worked in the bottling hall,
Yeah.
I've done malting, I've done distilling as well. I've
Right.
worked up at Glengyle, and my current role is production support coordinator. So I'm
Cool.
working in the production department. I help with training and development and making sure things like operating procedures and risk assessments are in place.
My goodness, you're well diversified. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously this leads to my next question.
Okay.
And that is, what's your least favourite job? Or I was going to say, what job do you hate the most? But you can't really say hate when you're working at
No.
one of the most preeminent distilleries on the planet.
Yeah.
So what's your least favourite job in that 11 years?
I have genuinely enjoyed every single thing that I have done here. There are
Yes.
obviously pros and cons with everything.
Even the 6 a.m. starts
Yeah, so
on the malting floors.
Malting was probably the most challenging physically, and the early starts. I'm not a morning person, so the early starts are definitely quite hard. Yeah.
Right, so. And another question I need to ask you, Lee, because with your experience and making whiskey for 11 years, do you drink whiskey?
I absolutely do drink whiskey. Yes.
Right,
Love
so.
whiskey. It's why I'm here.
Right, so. Now, we haven't scripted this, but I'm feeling a bit mischievous here. So you're walking into a whiskey shop somewhere,
Yeah.
and they've completely sold out of Springbank. Nothing unusual there. And you're looking for a bottle of Longrow, can't be found, and the Hazelburn has long since gone, and so you decide, I tell you what, there must be some Kilkerran 12-year-old or even a bottle of 16-year-old must be sitting somewhere, but there's none to be seen. So what whiskey are you going to buy next that isn't, because I know this is, you've got to cover yourself, that isn't from Cadenheads? It's got to be from somewhere else.
So I would tend to go to something more fruity, so
Right.
quite light-bodied, quite fruity, and I would look for a Glenlossie.
Glenlossie.
Yes.
Rightio. Fantastic. Now, Glenlossie, you don't really hear or see much about Glenlossie. It's mainly available from independent bottlers. Is for those who are maybe around the planet and there's no chance they're going to get hold of Glenlossie, but something that's recognisable and available, what would you recommend?
I would go back to my roots, which is Dumfries and Galloway,
Yeah.
and say Bladnoch.
Bladnoch.
Bladnoch Distillery is what got me into whiskey, and it's why I'm here today. And it's fantastic whiskey.
It is. I mean, that's a really good answer, because one of the first distilleries that I really connected with on a regular basis was Bladnoch, when it was under the ownership of the Armstrong family,
Yeah.
from Raymond Armstrong, and I've got many magic moments from that period in time. And you know, working here, don't you find that you love whiskey, you're working at Springbank, you really know your whiskies, do you have to pinch yourself now and again and say, I never planned this. It's just happened. What a wonderful experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have genuinely enjoyed every year that I've been here. It's a fantastic company to work for.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll agree the people here are so friendly, they're so welcoming, everybody loves what they do, and they're so proud of the company as well.
What I really notice, Lee, is that people are transparent and honest.
Yeah.
And it allows me to kind of ask the unexpected questions and all the rest of it. So thank you very much. We're going to conclude with one final question here. Which is harder to manage, a direct-fired wash still or a steam coil-fired spirit still?
Definitely the direct fired, and the reason for that is because the heat's coming from directly below.
Yeah.
And in the wash still especially, you've got a lot of organic matter in there with the yeast. That tends to sometimes burn onto the base, which can cause issues further down the line if you don't clean it properly.
Absolutely.
So it can be more temperamental, I would say.
Yeah. And when we're talking about cleaning, are you talking about a scraper inside the stills, and they're still warm, and it's a tough job?
Yeah, so we have the rummager, which prevents a lot of it sticking on, and we do caustic cleans as well. You have to do that to get rid of all the build up on the coils. Otherwise, it's very inefficient. So more work is involved, certainly cleaning those stills.
And of course, when you're malting barley and when it's germinating, that's pretty hard graft as well.
Yeah.
Physically hard graft.
Especially in the summer. In the summer, they're sometimes having to do double the work, really, to prevent it from growing too quickly.
And the reason for that, just going to show off a wee bit of knowledge here to the whisky fans, is that in the summer the ambient temperature is higher, the days are longer in terms of daylight, and therefore the grain is sprouting faster.
That is absolutely correct.
Absolutely. Geez, so you couldn't make this up. Can't script this sort of stuff. No. So Lee, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Now, I'm just going to finish off with one final little banger question. Is there any question you would like to ask me? Because I asked John, right, I said, and he says, nah, I've got no questions. And I thought it was brilliant because it was a completely honest answer. But do you have any question you'd like to ask an online whisky reviewer?
What got you into this?
An accident.
Okay.
I tripped over a child's scooter in St Andrews. This is literally, you can make this up. I tripped over a kid's scooter in St Andrews when I was visiting friends there. And I went right over the top of it because it had gone down a concrete slipway. And the front wheel embedded in a sand dune, and I went right over the top. And I sprung my clavicle, and it popped out. And I was in absolute agony. And because I'm an undertaker, I couldn't carry coffins. Which is an important part of an undertaker's job. And therefore my bosses says, no, we don't have a cushy office job for you, so you're going to have to stay off sick. So I'm off sick, the pain's subsiding, and I thought, I'm getting stir crazy here, I'm fed up with daytime television, I need to do something. So I phoned my brother, and he says, well, why don't you get one of these wee camera recorders? It's called a flip cam. And just record something. I mean, even though you like whiskey, it's not as if you know much about whiskey. So why don't you just say a few words about that? And I said, fine, I'm going to do that. Typical brothers. If all of the best encouragement is from the slag-offs and the put-downs. So I said, fine, I'm going to do that. Put the phone down. I thought, right, I've got a table here. We've got quite a few whiskies, a lot of whiskies. So what will I start with? So my first review was Talisker 10-year-old because it was very identifiable. And I recorded that video about 6 times because it was so awkward and wooden. And then in the final take, I said, hello, multi-somethings. And I just had this little breaker between clicking the recording button on, the little red button you see in this camera up at the top right-hand corner. And I just had this little interlude, this little kind of segue into what I was talking about. And I've never looked back. A brief calculation is 7 continuous solid months of whisky commentary, 1,000 formal whisky reviews, 1,300 videos. I have made HMRC very, very happy over this time. I have bought 99.9% of all the whiskies I've reviewed, and although the whisky scene online is small, it's very loyal and it's very stable, And this is why I think when many major channels you see malt mates, they rarely get past 6 years because the next generation comes along and they lose the traction. But this has been 14 years now, and what a wonderful journey. And I can totally relate, although I haven't worked in the distillery because my back couldn't stand up to all these malting floors. But hey, I think both you and I, whiskey's been good to us.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Thank you very much,
thank
Lee.
you.
Thank
Lovely
you.
to meet you.
And now, with my little stealth clicker, I'll click off this video. Did you enjoy yourself?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Springbank are lucky to have you. I'm telling you that right now.